Good afternoon, everyone. Before I open the hearing, I just want to be sure, I know we have one attorney on file as an objector, Mr. Tom Burney. Are there any other attorneys that are filing as an official objector? Okay. Then I'll call the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. The purpose for our hearing today is application Z 25-0011. The applicant is S.T. Basiliuk. Did I pronounce that correctly, sir?
Good enough, thank you.
Okay. And the request is for an A1 agricultural district to the A1 agricultural district with a conditional use permit for food processing with animal slaughter, with a variance to reduce the street frontage from 330 feet to 0 feet. The PIN number associated with this application is 0814-300-002. This property is a 1-acre parcel located about 1,500 feet east of Greenwood Road, with access to the site approximately 740 feet north of the intersection of Avang and Greenwood Roads in Greenwood Township. At this time, I'll have the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals introduce themselves and the township in which they reside, starting on my left.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
I'm Linnea Kustra in Alden Township.
Vicki Gartner, Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated April 26, 2025, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was April 28, 2025, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was April 24, 2025, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. This would be NRI L25-0774633. Now, as Anna kind of went through for people that have not been here before a little bit about how the hearing works, I thank you for that, Anna. You were just really terrific. I just want you to know that we need to be out of this building by 4:30 this afternoon. And so there's a real good chance that we will need to continue this hearing to another date and time. So when we get to that portion of the day, like when we are hitting 4 o'clock, we will probably be then looking at, you know, a time that then we will confer with people as to what date would be possible. It looks like maybe it will be next Wednesday, but we'll see at that time. If you're not able to hear in the back, we're going to do our best to speak up, but there are some chairs here in the front. So if you can't hear, you know, please move up so that you can take advantage of hearing this. As well, this meeting is being recorded. So if you want to review this, you know, before you come back or something, you know, you are able to look at it online and listen to this, the whole meeting. I would ask that when participants come up to speak, that you all speak directly into the microphone so that everyone can hear. I ask everyone to be respectful, and a reminder that this is a quasi-judicial hearing. This is not a rally. We don't take applause or speaking out of turn. Only when you have the microphone are you allowed to speak. There's no background talk, and if people get out of line, we just need to call security in the building and you'll be asked to leave. So again, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. We are taking testimony. We need to be able to hear. The recording needs to be able to hear so that anyone who wants to listen to this afterwards can hear the testimony. It's in everyone's benefit. And so again, you know kind of how the meeting will work when you have time for your questions. We have an attorney representing several people. I will be giving the attorney 6 minutes to ask questions. Again, you can ask all your questions within your time period. Members of the public will have 3 minutes. I will use my phone to time you. Ask all your questions, and then the petitioner will have a chance to respond. If you're asking the same question over and over, I'm not going to ask the petitioner to answer that question multiple times. So again, I ask you to be respectful. We all have, you know, answers that we want to know, but we're not, you know, it's not going to be repetitive. So at this time, I would ask anyone who thinks that they will be speaking, the petitioner, attorneys, any member of the public who thinks you'll either be asking a question or making a statement. You will need to be sworn in. So at this time, I would ask you to raise your right hand if you will be speaking at all. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay. So at this time, we'll turn it over to the petitioner and his attorney.
Ms. Kustra, you said that the transcript of this meeting would be available to the public. Where would they find that?
They would find that online on the county's website.
On the county website? And going to today's date, zoning board of appeals meeting, is that how they would find it?
I believe so.
Tell our people when it's,
Anna, could you confirm that?
Okay, so we send the recording to a transcription service. They typically will turn it around within 24 hours. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Staff will then review that document for accuracy. There's a lot of typos, there's misspelled names, that kind of stuff, so we clean that stuff up. And then it's made available. Usually, it is available by request, through a FOIA request. I'd say that we have Memorial Day here. We will shoot to try to have it available on Tuesday, but I will not swear that it will be available on Tuesday.
But how about the recording, if someone just wants to listen to it?
So the recording is posted online. That is through the meeting portal. So you go to today's date, and you can certainly listen to it.
And that would be available like tomorrow?
It'll be available shortly after this meeting,
Okay.
before we go home this evening.
Okay. Okay. So we'll turn it over to the petitioner.
Thank you very much. My name is Terry McKenna. I represent the petitioner, Sergey Bazilgut. Close enough. I'd like to start with the opening statement by reading a statement that petitioners prepared as part of their website. At Sunbury Orchard, our mission has always been simple: grow honest food, raise animals with care, and serve our community with transparency. For years, our family has proudly provided this community with fresh produce, open markets, and wholesome experiences rooted in local agriculture. As part of our farm's growth, we've proposed building a small-scale USDA-inspected processing facility. This is not a factory-style slaughterhouse. It is a humane, low-volume facility built specifically to process the animals we already raise right here on the same land where they were born and cared for. We're not bringing in outside livestock or large transport fleets. We're simply closing the loop on our own farm. Right now, we're forced to haul livestock hours away for processing. That adds stress to the animals, raises costs for consumers, and increases our environmental footprint. This facility solves that. It lets us process animals humanely, responsibly, and locally. The building will be clean, quiet, and modern. There'll be no open waste, no odor, no visible impact on neighboring homes. It is designed to meet the highest federal and local standards with a focus on sustainability, animal welfare, and environmental protection. We've deliberately placed the facility away from nearby homes and will meet or exceed every regulation. It won't disrupt the peace or character of the area. It will look and function just like any other agricultural structure. We have no interest in harming the land we live and work on. We understand that the word slaughterhouse can be unsettling, but this is not industrial meat packing. It's a farm-based solution for a farm-based need. It's how we take responsibility for what we raise and serve the families who care about where their food comes from. Now, obviously, we're aware that the Village of Wonder Lake and neighboring property owners have raised concerns about this petition. Those concerns are centered around potential odor and noise pollution, the risk of groundwater contamination, visual impact on adjacent neighborhoods, and the proximity to residential subdivisions. As I've just read in the petitioner's statement, we're not proposing an industrial slaughterhouse. This will be a fairly small operation limited to the processing of animals that raised by petitioner on petitioner's farms here in the area. The proposed building itself is only 50 feet by 100 feet, and 800 of that 5,000 square feet is covered porch. That in and of itself limits the scope of the processing that can be done on site. Additionally, the building was specifically designed as a processing facility to limit odor, noise from the operation. Because of these factors, neighbors should not experience any odor or noise whatsoever. As for the risk of groundwater contamination, petitioner will install a new septic system to accommodate the bathrooms and wash sinks in the building. But the septic system is only there to accept the same types of wastes typically associated with residential septic systems. For the toilets, the wash sinks, no animal waste of any kind will be disposed of in the septic system. In fact, no animal waste of any kind will be disposed of at the property at all. All such waste will be collected in a dedicated holding tank and hauled away to be rendered off-site, where that waste will be recycled by the rendering company into what they call inedible proteins for other uses. The third concern raised is that of the visible impact on the adjacent neighborhoods. Again, this is a fairly small building that petitioner intends to construct. It's smaller even than the existing building that is already on site. It will also be further away from the existing residential areas than the larger building that's already on site. And in addition, it'll be shielded by the approximately 30 acres of orchards that the petitioner has that essentially surrounds the site. You can see from the proposed elevation design here that the building's been designed to be attractive as well as functional. This isn't a utilitarian factory building. It will look no different or be any more out of place than any ag-exempt building that the petitioner could otherwise put up on his property. Similar is the concern raised about proximity to residential subdivisions. Again, we didn't seek to put this up right next to a residential neighborhood. The ordinance requires that the facility be not less than 500 feet from the nearest residence. This facility will be more than 1,000 feet from the nearest residence. It'll be built further away than the existing buildings on site, and it will be shielded from sight by that existing building and again by the 30 acres of orchard that are already on site. It's our goal today then to demonstrate to the ZBA and to the interested parties here today that the petition, one, meets the conditions for approval set forth in the Unified Development Ordinance, but has also been thoughtfully designed to fit seamlessly within the agricultural uses already performed at the property and to alleviate the concerns of the neighboring property owners and to demonstrate that at the end of the day, there will be no change in their use and enjoyment of their homes. So I'd like to call, as my witness, Sergey. Sergey, can you state and spell your name for the record?
Sergey Bazyluk, S-E-R-G-I-Y, last name B-A-Z-Y-L-Y-U-K.
And you are the petitioner in this matter?
Yes,
And you operate Sunbury Orchard, who prepared that statement that I read?
yes,
And you're also the owner of the subject property at 3712 Greenwood Road, Woodstock.
yes,
The subject property consists of 1.044 acres.
yes.
We got another mic coming in.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
I hate sharing a mic. And altogether, though, you own 107 acres at this location.
Yes,
And let me go back. The 1.044 acre parcel is part of a larger 57 acre parcel,
correct.
which in turn is part of the larger 107 acre parcel that you own at the location.
That's correct.
Our petition seeks a conditional use for food processing with animal slaughter and a variation to the frontage requirements from the required 330 feet of road frontage to 0 feet of frontage. You own other farm properties in the area.
Yes,
How many other farm properties do you own?
3.
And where are those located?
One farm located just 1.5 miles away on Greenwood Road, one in Mandalay, one in Harvard.
And then you also own and operate a couple of farm markets.
Yes.
And where are those located?
Lake Zurich, Skokie, Illinois, and Mundelein, Illinois.
And we've brought this petition because you hope to utilize the subject property to construct and operate a facility to process animals raised by you on your farm properties.
That's correct.
This facility would also accommodate local customers who could order meat online and pick up their order at the facility.
Yes.
You've indicated to county staff previously that you anticipate approximately 8 to 9 local customers per week utilizing the pickup service.
That's correct.
And the remaining meat processed at your property would be transported to your retail markets.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go over here and hope this works. So let's talk first about the location of the property. Oh, rock star time. All right. So here is a survey of the 107 acres that you own. And the portion of the property that is the subject of our petition is highlighted here in yellow. Correct?
Yes.
And it's within this yellow area that you intend to construct the building.
Correct.
And the building you're looking to construct is 100 by 50 feet, we said.
Correct.
And I want to point out this existing building here that's to the east. That building is 104 by 96 feet, correct?
That's correct.
So the building that you're looking to construct is essentially half the size of this building.
Yes.
And this building will stay at the property.
Yes.
So again, your proposed building, smaller than this, approximately half the size. This building, all by itself, is a visible buffer to the neighbors.
Yes.
So I'm showing you now the survey of the subject property, which is the 1.044 acres. The existing survey that we presented shows an existing greenhouse and a trailer here. Those structures will be removed, correct?
That's correct.
And the highlighted area here shows the location of your proposed building.
Yes.
So you're not proposing to put a building in an area where no building previously existed.
That's right.
So it's really no different than if you were to have added on to this particular building.
That's correct.
Which, if you were to construct an ag-exempt structure, you'd be able to do. We wouldn't need anybody's permission for that. Correct?
Yes.
Again, you've designed your proposed building to be an attractive building, not strictly utilitarian. It's not a huge block industrial building designed to look like any other agricultural building. In fact, here is the design of the building, correct?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
this
Sound of my-
site plan's been submitted to county as part of the plat review process?
Yes.
The second down, that's the east side elevation, so that's the side that would face the neighbors to the east.
Correct.
To put this in a little more perspective, here is your 107-acre parcel, again, in the middle of the drawing. The red dot is where you're looking to construct your building.
That's correct.
Correct. This is an Athena map from 2022. There have been some changes since that time. For example, this shows tilled ground here to the east and south. What is now located in this area?
There is orchard right now.
Okay, and
I'm
How-
sorry, what did you say?
Orchard. Apple
Would you
orchard.
speak into the microphone,
Yes, sure.
please? You don't need to.
Yeah,
dis-
there is
you go.
orchard currently grown.
so orchard, what
Yes.
types of trees are there?
Apples and peaches.
Okay, and how tall are those trees?
10 feet,
Okay, and it's about how many acres of orchard?
30 acres total.
Okay. And obviously, the orchard would act as a visual barrier between your proposed building and the neighbors to the east, to the south.
That's correct.
The aerial photo also shows trees up on the north end of the property.
Yes, 30 acres.
Are those trees still there?
Yes,
So those trees act as a buffer to the people to the north of the
that's
property.
correct.
If you're standing here at your existing building, can you see these houses?
No,
Through
you
the
cannot
orchard?
see anything.
Are they able to see your white building here?
Maybe roof.
The roof, okay. The building that you're constructing, or that you're looking to construct, is it taller or shorter than the building that's existing? here?
Shorter.
Okay, so it's not going to be as tall. Again, the red dot, the new building, further away from the neighbors than your existing building.
That's correct.
Correct.
Could I ask a favor? I hate to interrupt you, but we have this, like, layout of the building and everything. It's called the Farm Building. It's by Arca Craft. And the print is so small, I can't even read what it is. Do you have that? Is there a way that we can get that blown up, at least for a copy? I mean, for my eyes, I can't read the description of what's going on in that building.
I'm not
You
sure
want to
which
come
one
and
you're
look at this, Terry? It's this here,
I would reinforce.
and I can't read any of it.
I do have a blow-up of that,
Okay,
and I'm trying to read from some of this as well.
okay.
So otherwise, I can give it to you and get it back when it comes time.
Okay. So if you want a copy today, I can contact Kim and see if she can print it on our large printer. Otherwise,
I think as a board member, I need to,
A larger-
Charlie and I both
Yeah.
with our eyes need it, and
Okay.
maybe everybody else. We'll pass it along.
Okay.
If you can get one
So,
copy done, that
of
would
the
be
board
great.
members who needs copies, raise your hand. Okay, so, Mary, you didn't raise your hand. Do you need it? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead then, and we'll wait for that.
So again, here is another shot of the McHenry County Athena map, blown up a little bit. So again, it shows that existing white building, 750 feet from the nearest residential lot line. This building is 100 feet wide. You're constructing your building further to the west of that building. Taking into consideration the yard between the lot line and the building, again, this building is going to be 1,000 feet from.
That's
the
correct.
nearest neighbor. So let's talk for a minute about the operation itself then. You're looking to process animals that you raise on your own properties.
That's right.
And you plan to sell the meat to local customers.
That's correct.
And how would they order their meat?
Online, or they can call to make an order.
But what you're not planning is a retail butcher shop in this building.
No,
So they would call, they would order, you would tell them when somebody's going to be there, and then they would pick it up.
yes,
The rest of the meat would be transported to your farm markets,
correct.
and you will bring your animals to the building from your farm properties for processing.
That's right.
Are you planning to process any meat from other farms,
No,
from other farmers? So again, only animals that you raise on your own property.
that's correct.
So in addition to the approval standards set forth in the UDO for conditional uses generally, the UDO imposes additional requirements for food processing with animal slaughter. The first of those is that no animal slaughter operation may be located on a parcel within 500 feet of any residential zoning district or residential structure located in an agricultural zoning district. As you've indicated, the facility is more than 800 feet from the nearest residential zoning district and more than 1,000 feet from the nearest residence.
That's correct.
The second requirement is that live animals may be held on site for no more than 24 hours.
That's right.
So when you bring animals to the site, they're brought into the building immediately?
Yes,
Are any animals kept outside prior to processing?
no,
Will there be any outdoor pens constructed as part of the building to keep animals outside prior to processing?
no,
They're brought in, there's a holding pen inside the building for those purposes.
that's correct.
Will any animals be kept on site for more than 24 hours?
No,
So you don't have any intention of housing animals on site prior to processing?
that's correct.
The third requirement is that all slaughtering processing is permitted only in an enclosed building. Again, as we've mentioned, you intend to construct a new processing facility at the property. You've been working with the county staff in connection with the design of the building, so let's talk about the design of the building itself. You're not retrofitting an existing ag building, correct?
Correct.
You've submitted a building plan to the county for review and approval as part of the site plan review process,
Yes.
correct? Likewise, you've also been working with the health department.
Yes.
How long have you been working with the health department?
Over 2 years.
Yes.
Over 2 years already.
Okay. And again, you've designed the building in such a way so as to minimize noise and odor,
Yes.
and that's, as a commercial building, it has to be built to commercial standards.
Yes, that's correct.
So again, when the animals are brought into the facility, they're ushered into a holding pen that's fully enclosed within the building.
Correct.
They're only going to be outside the building long enough to move them from the transportation vehicles to the holding pen,
That's correct.
and all of the processing of the animals will be done within the building itself.
That's correct.
Will any animal waste or byproducts ever be stored or located outside of the building?
No.
Okay. The plan that was presented to the county shows a dedicated office for an inspector. Why is that?
That's required by USDA.
So a representative of the USDA has to be on site at all times while processing is being performed,
That's right.
and that's to oversee operations,
That's correct. Yes.
and that is something that's required by law.
That's correct.
Okay. So given the foregoing, the other two conditions are, one, that all applicable federal, state, and county rules and regulations shall apply, and that the facility shall satisfy all requirements of the McHenry County Health Ordinance and applicable building codes. So that is correct. That's how you
Yes.
how you are designing the structure.
That's correct. Yes.
Very good. Couple other things I want to mention regarding the building. Again, the building will be constructed to commercial building code, so accordingly, there'll be restrooms and sinks. Will you be installing a new septic system for the building?
Yes.
All right. And then, Linnea, this might be what you're hoping to see. So this is the septic design, essentially, that you've submitted to the county.
Yes.
Don't usually include a septic design in these, but I did want to point out a couple of things. First, the new septic design, the new septic system is going to be here on the west side of the building, again, away from the neighboring properties. But more importantly, I'd like to read from you a couple of things that are set out in the design. The first references here to the north, an existing potable well that will supply fresh water to the site, and that there are no conflicts with ordinance setbacks. The second here is that, you know, the designated private sewage disposal system, and that only toilet waste, mop sink, and sink for cleaning equipment to go to the septic system. All other waste routed to special waste holding tank per USDA requirements. Again, the waste from holding pen and kill floor to be routed to special waste holding tank. And the plan provides for utilizing a 3,000-gallon poly tank, a special waste holding tank, to provide audio-visual alarm per county standards and to have the county required notices.
That's
set out.
correct. Yes.
So again, the purpose of this is to highlight that the project has been designed in accordance with county requirements, but more importantly, to confirm that no animal waste of any kind will be disposed of in the septic system or anywhere else on the property.
That's correct.
Again, there will be a septic holding tank for all such waste.
Yes.
The tank design is in accordance with the county requirements,
Yes.
and it will have the safeguards and alarms required by the county ordinance.
Yes.
All animal waste collected from the holding tank and hauled away,
Correct.
and that will be hauled away by a rendering company that will, again, remove the waste from the site.
Yes.
You've indicated this is a fairly small operation. You're not proposing a factory-style slaughterhouse.
That's correct.
So this is not trucks coming and going several times a day?
No.
Would you say it's a low-volume facility built specifically to process? the
That's
animals?
correct. Yes.
Is this even a full-time operation?
No.
How many days a week do you anticipate
We
processing
planning
activities?
to process once a week.
Once a week?
Yes.
How many employees do you expect to be on site at any one time?
Up to 4.
And how many deliveries do you anticipate in a week?
Deliveries.
Of the animals to be
one,
processed.
one day process, one time delivery out.
So the
Yes.
animals are delivered, they're processed, and that's it.
Yes.
What types of trucks do you use to deliver the animals?
Hefton 2500 Chevrolet and enclosed animal trailer, 16 feet.
So a
trailer.
half-ton pickup and a
Yes,
16-foot trailer.
correct.
How does this compare with your other activities at the property?
Not gonna increase any activity because activity is already going on. We still have animals on property. They've been there for 4 years. So we still delivering food for them. We move animals in and out of farms. There's not gonna increase the traffic.
Objection, Mr. Chairman. The gentleman has land that's both in the village of Greenwood and the county. And I don't think, I think he's got to distinguish because this petting zoo that he's talking about is in Greenwood, it's not in the county.
There's no petting zoo
I
that's
don't think he
before the
mentioned a
board here.
petting zoo. He just said he has animals on the property.
Okay, I thought he was referring to the activities on the property, which are no different, and
He's got farm animals there. It's a farm. So, yeah, I think that's what you're referring to, right?
Yes, ma'am.
No petting zoo. So you bring animals, you move animals between farms,
Yes, we do. Mhm.
and obviously you bring feed on site. to the
Yes.
farm. So there'd be no increase in the vehicle traffic to the property.
Not at all.
Will the residential neighbors be impacted by any increase in traffic?
Not at all.
Is the property in any way accessed via a neighboring residential neighborhood?
No,
There are no farm vehicles that have to drive between houses to get to your property.
no.
Rather, you access your property from the west,
Yes,
Through the
we got only
cemetery
one
from Green-
entrance point from Greenwood Road.
and that's not going to change at all.
No,
So assuming that the petition is approved, the neighbors won't be impacted at all by any additional vehicles accessing the property.
that's correct.
So then I would ask you, does this operation at all resemble the industrial scale slaughterhouse that your neighbors fear you want to install?
Not at all.
Will the operation lead to soil or water contamination?
Not at all.
Will there be any noise or odor for the neighbors to deal with?
Not at all.
Will the building itself look any different than a typical agricultural building?
It's gonna look nicer than typical building.
It'll look nicer. No, because you've designed all of these concerns, or rather, you've addressed all of these concerns with the design of the building.
That's correct.
You've located the building away from the residential neighborhoods.
Yes, yes, as far as we can.
And it will be further from your neighbors than the existing buildings on the property.
That's correct.
And in fact, between your existing buildings and the surrounding neighbors, there's 30 acres of orchard.
That's right.
Is it likely that your neighbors would even see the new building?
Maybe roof
Maybe
of that.
roof. But for having to go through this process, if you simply put up your building and began processing the animals, would your neighbors even know that it existed?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then I'd like to take you through the approval standards for the conditional use request. The first of those standards is that the conditional use meets all applicable standards of the UDO use standards and site development standards. Again, with respect to the site-specific, the facility, or rather, isn't it true that the facility will be located more than 500 feet from a residential zoning district?
That's correct.
Isn't it true that live animals will not be kept on site for more than 24 hours?
That's correct.
It's correct that all slaughtering will be conducted in an enclosed building.
Correct.
Correct that you will comply with all applicable federal, state, and county rules and regulations.
Correct.
And it's also correct that your facility will satisfy all requirements of the McHenry County Health Ordinance and Building Codes.
Correct.
And you have been and continue to work with the county to satisfy those requirements.
Yes, sir.
The second standard is the conditional use compatible with the existing or planned future development of the area. Isn't it true that the subject property is owned A1 agricultural district?
Correct.
Your proposed use is permitted in an A1 agricultural district with a conditional use, correct?
Correct.
And this 1 acre site is surrounded on all sides by parcels, the use of which is primarily agricultural in nature.
Correct.
So the conditional use is compatible with the existing development in the area.
Correct.
The third standard is that the conditional, or is the conditional use detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the area?
No.
Again, for all intents and purposes, doesn't the processing facility, in all respects, simply resemble another agricultural building on the 107-acre parcel that you own?
Yes.
Excuse me.
I understood correct.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Okay. The proposed structure is more than 800 feet from the nearest residential district and more than 1,000 feet from the nearest residence.
Correct. Correct.
The building's been designed in such a way to minimize noise and odor, correct?
Yes.
There will be no substantial increase in traffic to the site. In
Correct.
fact, based on your testimony, there won't be any increase in traffic on the site.
Correct.
There is not presently, nor is there contemplated any change in access that would any way affect the nearby
Correct.
residential district.
Yes.
The next standard is, will the conditional use be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the area? Isn't it true that the proposed use will not affect the use and enjoyment of the other property in the area?
That's correct.
You already conduct agricultural activities on the 107-acre farm.
Yes.
The area in which the facility will be located is going to be blocked by view from buildings and your orchards.
Correct.
And again, from the perspective of surrounding property owners, will there be any change in the use of your property?
No.
The next one is, will the conditional use substantially diminish and impair property value in the area? Again, you've designed the building to be no different than any other agricultural building. No noise, no odor.
That's correct. Yes.
And because of the restrictions imposed on the ordinance, the impact, or rather, there will be no impact to the property.
Correct.
The next standard is, are adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities provided? Isn't it true that utilities and access roads servicing the property already exist?
Yes. Correct.
And you've worked with the health department to design an appropriate septic system for the new building
Correct.
and to ensure drainage in compliance with applicable ordinance?
Yes.
Again, there will be no animal waste of any kind disposed of on site.
Correct.
The next is, has the conditional use operation been designed to provide ingress and egress to minimize traffic congestion and hazards on the public street? Again, given the limited scope of your operation or your proposed operations at the property, it's not going to generate any additional traffic.
That's
to the
correct.
site. And again, this has been located on your property to minimize traffic congestion and public
Correct.
and hazard on public
Yes.
streets. And then finally, will the conditional use conform to the applicable standards of the underlying zoning district?
Correct.
And again, the use is permitted in the A1 district with a conditional use.
Okay.
Excuse me. The second component of our petition is a requested variance. The zoning ordinance requires 330 feet of road frontage for an A1 parcel. And it's true, we are seeking a variance from the required 330 feet of road frontage to 0 feet of road frontage. So here, I'd like to look back again at the aerial photograph of the 107-acre parcel. So as you can see, the entire 107-acre parcel is landlocked in that there is no road frontage. Instead, you gain access to the site from Greenwood Road through a couple of deed restriction easements that have existed for a number of years. I don't have it here, but the County Athena website shows aerial photographs of your site going back to 1939. We looked at those, and isn't it true that in the 1939 aerial, this site was still landlocked, and site to this farmstead was gained through the roadway that's clearly visible on that 1939 aerial photograph.
Correct.
Could you speak louder into the microphone?
Correct.
sir?
Sorry, but we will learn by the end.
So again, we're not looking for any additional access to the property that has existed for these number of years.
That's correct. I guess. I don't know if I understood correctly.
So then at this point, I'd like to step you through the approval standards for the granting of our requested variation. The first of which is, what hardship is placed upon the property owner due to the particular surrounding shape or topographic conditions of the property if the strict letter of the zoning regulations were carried out? So again, the subject parcel is part of a larger 57-acre parcel. In total, you own 107 acres that surround the subject parcel. Neither the underlying parcel nor the surrounding 107 acres have any road frontage.
Correct.
Ingress and egress to the property has been granted through 2 perpetual easements through the adjacent property from the west.
That's correct.
Isn't it true those easements have been in effect since 1896 and 1935 respectively?
Looks like.
And the 107-acre parcel has been accessed in such a manner prior to the adoption
Yes.
of any zoning ordinance in McHenry
Yes,
County.
correct.
Again, you've testified that this is a small part-time operation.
Correct.
So the idea was to limit the scope of our request,
Correct.
which in turn meant that we limited the size of the property that we were seeking the conditional use for.
Correct.
The parcel on which you're seeking the conditional use is only 202 feet by 205 feet.
Correct.
So the parcel itself doesn't even have 330 feet of frontage.
Correct.
So there's no way for you to comply with the required 330 feet of frontage.
That's
The way
correct.
this is configured. In fact, even the surrounding 107-acre parcels can't comply with the 330-foot frontage requirement.
That's correct.
But because it's existed this way for many years, you and your predecessors have been lawfully able to access the property via the roadway to the west.
That's correct.
So if the strict letter of the zoning regulations were carried out, you wouldn't be able to access your property for these purposes.
That's correct.
The second standard is, how is the hardship unique to this property and not applicable to all properties within the same zoning district? Again, that goes back to how the property was created and how it's been accessed since at least 1935.
Correct.
The condition, because of those things, the condition is unique to this property,
Correct.
correct? The third condition is, other than increased monetary gain, what is the purpose of the variation? Again, the purpose of the variation is to allow you to access your property,
Correct.
correct? That's in the middle of your 107-acre farm, correct?
Correct.
To
Yes.
perform, animal processing that is consistent with your other agricultural
Correct.
activities of the property. The fourth is, did the property owner or past owners create the difficulty or hardship that the variation seeks to relieve? Again, the hardship was created when the parcels were created, correct?
Correct.
And again, it's been this way since at least 1935.
That's correct.
The fifth standard is, will the variation be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood? Isn't it true that the variation will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other properties in the neighborhood, because we're not asking for any additional means of access?
That's
to the
correct.
property.
Yes.
Still just looking to access the property through this roadway.
Yes.
Will the variation impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, increase congestion on the public streets, increase the risk of fire to adjacent property, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood?
No.
And again, you were just using the access the way it's already existed, and ultimately your proposed use is no different than that of any other agricultural building on the
That's
property.
correct.
And will the variation confer special privilege to you that is denied to other owners with property in the same zoning district?
No. No.
Again, it would just simply allow your 1-acre portion of your 107-acre farm to be accessed in the same manner that it's been since at least 1935.
That's correct.
I have no further questions.
Okay, we'll start with questions from the board, starting on my right, Ms. Beverly.
Thank you. Okay, I have a few questions. So you testified that you're going to be bringing the animals to the building from local farms for processing. About how many times per week will you be doing that, and how many animals at a time?
Not from local farm, from our own farm, which
From
is
your
we do
own
have
farm.
1.5 mile away on Greenwood Road, on same east side of the road. We got another farm, 120 acres there. And for example, on this farm 3712 Greenwood Road, we have currently 300 pigs. On 23
How many did you say?
300.
Okay.
If we will count, including newborns, which was from a couple days ago, very tiny, small, but we still count them like animals. already, and very limited quantity of pigs lives on 2318 farm, which is we don't have to bring even weekly, once a month, or depends on age of the pigs. They can be transferred between farms. They live outside on paddocks and in forest and design mobile structures, which is moving time from time.
Can I?
They not live in confinement barn. They live on pasture in forest.
Okay.
So you're talking about the animals that you raise on your 107-acre farm right now?
Yes, we're talking. The question is how many animals I will bring from another farm.
Right.
Which is we're gonna bring only from our own farm, not from another farms.
Not from Mundelein or Harvard?
No,
Okay.
because there is no pigs yet.
Okay,
The pigs not live in Mundelein.
okay.
Can I,
Sure.
but how many times a week are you bringing animals to be processed?
From same once a week.
Once a week?
Yes,
Would you be open to a condition imposed on the conditional use permit, limiting your operations to once a week?
absolutely.
So you testified that this will not increase activity on the site at all, and that all of this is already going on. You've got animals, you deliver food for them, you move them in and out, but you also testified that you anticipate between 8 and 9 people to come pick up meat from the facility. You're gonna have 4 employees on site, and you're gonna be operating this once a week.
Same employees. Either people will come pick up orders or not. We don't know now. We know, matter of the fact, employees already there, and pigs already there, animals there, and we need to take care of them.
But how many people are in and out every day right now?
Right now, same 4 to 5 people who's working on farm, feeding animals and take care of the orchard.
Okay. Okay. I want to go back to the standards. Thank you for addressing each one. Number 5 says the conditional use permit shall not substantially diminish or impair property value within the neighborhood. Do you have any studies to present into the record establishing that this won't be injurious to property values? Because you testified no, and we received like 700 pages of comments saying yes.
No, we don't have any studies of that effect. The point being that the activities that are going to be conducted on the property are no different than any other farm activities. There's, even the processing of the animals is going to occur within an enclosed building. There's no animals that are going to be housed outside of the building prior to processing. There's going to be a truck that pulls up, just like right now, a truck pulls up and they unload pigs or chickens at the farm, and other pigs or chickens are loaded back onto that truck and taken to a different property. In this case, pigs or chickens might be dropped off, ushered into the building, processed, and then another truck will take away the frozen or the chilled meat. So, again, whether it's moving live animals or moving animals and then processed animals, there's no difference. So the argument is that because there's no difference, there's no impact to the surrounding property owners.
Okay. Number 8 says is related to utilities and access roads. Can you please tell me what utilities exist in the other building at this time? Like, what happens in that other building? I know that we're only looking at the small 1-acre site, but there's another barn there. What sort of equipment are you operating out of there, and what sort of
There
utilities?
is pigs live in that barn in winter time.
Okay.
That's and storage for equipment.
Is it
There is
fully
no septic or
electrified
anything.
and heated?
No, that's just electric and water there for animals.
Okay. I want to get back into the egress and ingress issue. I want to note that there's a lot of objections related to the easement, but this body doesn't handle easements. We're not here to make any decision on an easement or based on an easement. That would have to be pursued in a court of law. This has come up before the county board before, and they don't base their decisions on easements either. This is purely related to the conditional use permit. In the proposed conditions, staff has indicated that you have 1 year to demonstrate control over access to get to and from the facility. So no construction would begin prior to establishing that you have control over the easement or a leasehold over your access. But I'm seeing that you've presented everything related to your septic system and the drainage and things like, or the processing. But I haven't seen anything demonstrating that you have control over egress and ingress and that there's adequate utilities, access road, and drainage, and that is part of our decision-making processing for the conditional use.
The county staff has been furnished with copies of the two deeds that establish the easements. They were both done in deed restrictions or deed reservations. So both of those documents have been submitted to staff, and that's what establishes the right of ingress and egress. There's no leasehold interest or anything else. It's, you know, I sell my property to you and I reserve a 33-foot wide road so I can access my other property. That's what's happened in these situations, and that access is perpetual. There's no restrictions in the deeds themselves that limit how that access is to be used or who can use what.
Okay. Has McDOT weighed in as to whether the 33 feet is wide enough for the trucks and trailers that need to come in and out?
Yes, I would say yes, because we're still using that now as the entrance point and exit.
Okay.
It's been used for 5 years. We've been there. 6, actually.
This is still all considered an agricultural use.
Okay. I'm just asking, I'm
Yeah.
just, because it's agricultural use, but it's more than agricultural use because it is a processing facility. And you've testified that you'll have people coming on site to pick up. And I mean, the subject site at this time has a temporary structure on it and storage equipment. It doesn't have a building and it doesn't have anything on it that would suggest that it's currently being used with 8 or 9 people coming to and from it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the site that you have selected is very small on the property. And so I'm trying to wrap my mind around increasing traffic with more employees to do the processing, because is it the same guys who are working the orchard that are going to be processing the animals?
Yes.
Okay. And then you'll have the trucks coming in from maybe Mundelein and Harvard. You testified not yet, right?
From Mundelein trucks, not bring animals.
You said you
There
don't
is-
have pigs in Mundelein and Harvard that would be coming to
Absolutely,
this
there is no
facility
pigs.
yet.
No pigs there.
Pigs.
There
So-
is no room for them to live.
Would it be chickens then?
Chickens live on 3712, 1,500 chickens right now.
Okay, 1,500 chickens,
Yes.
and you said 300 pigs?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me go through my notes. Turning to the variation request, we have to meet each of those standards. And number 3, the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property. You testified that the purpose of the variation is to allow access to the property in the middle of the farm, perform animal processing that is consistent with other agricultural activities on the property. This is a more intense use than the current agricultural activities on the property, and I'm not clear how that use is not purely for a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property. Can you please explain?
Not really understood your question. Once pigs grown, they have to be processed somewhere, either taken to another facility, which is not available in our area, and we cannot schedule and process our pigs in timely manner to supply to our customers, or they might be processed in new building, which is we asking to get permit to build. So, if I answer correct your question or not, I don't know.
The purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property. At this time, this is a vacant 1-acre lot, and you're proposing putting a building on it to slaughter animals so that you don't have to take them to another facility. how is that not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain from the property?
Can I answer?
Yes,
Go-
you
And go
can.
back to the statement that the petitioners put out. Taking animals elsewhere to be processed adds stress to the animals, raises costs, increases an environmental footprint. By processing animals on site, you remove all of that. It's easier on the animals, there's less trucks on the road, and the meat is better.
May I say also, it's gonna cost me more to process myself and build this building than take to another place, but they're not available. I cannot call and schedule processing. It's hard to find a place where I can go.
I understand. I
And I guess
understand.
that's a good point, because how long will it take you to recover the costs of building your building versus taking the animals someplace else to pay for processing? Years and years, I would presume.
Yes.
And in order to recover that, will you have to expand your operation beyond 300 pigs and 1,500 chickens?
No. In our petition, we asking up to 4,000 chickens a year. That's in our petition, total, annually,
No, it's not.
from between 2,000 and we can expand up to 4,000 chickens.
I
But
didn't see
It's
anything
not.
in the
I think
petition.
that that's what he's anticipating, is up to 4,000, between 2,000 and 4,000. But no, we don't have that as a limit in the petition itself.
Okay. And expanding to 4,000 chickens and 300 pigs with a 1-day-a-week processing condition to the conditional use permit would still be acceptable?
yes,
Okay. Going through the standards again, number 6, this one is a long one. The proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property or substantially increase the congestion in the public streets or increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety or sustainably diminish or impair property values within the adjacent neighborhood. Now, questions I have related to this, again, we're looking at a vacant lot that's next to another building. There's nothing on this vacant lot that would increase the risk of fire at this time.
there is existing building which is going to be removed and
Next,
put
it's not
instead of.
included in this part, though. Like, it's next to it, yes. But there's nothing there right now that would pose a substantial fire risk.
Greenhouse, we can see on picture.
Is it heated? Does it have utilities in it?
It has electrical and has heater, yes.
Okay. And in designing this building, are you going to have to get new utility easements? Do you have sufficient utilities to the site to manage the chillers and the equipment required?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And do you have a fire suppression system planned for this property?
This does not require in building less than 5,000 square feet in McHenry County. We've been consulting with fire department.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
But the building will be built to McHenry County commercial standards.
Absolutely,
And it's really the county building department that makes sure that you're not putting up a fire
yes,
hazard.
that's correct.
Mr. Schnabel.
Yeah, good afternoon. I do have a few things. The first question I was going to ask, which has been semi-answered already, was when I look at the building design, I did not see any refrigerated portion for storage of the finished product after the butchering takes place. So I believe correct in understanding. Can you explain how you would coordinate with refrigerated trailers to be on site at the conclusion of the butchering or while that process is ongoing?
We do have small Sprinter trailer, which can hold like 2,000 pounds at that time, and that's sufficient to haul our product from this building to our market in Skokie.
So most of the product is going to go to a store in Skokie?
Skokie and Lake Zurich, yes.
In Lake Zurich, okay. I was perhaps malinformed. I thought this was going to be mainly strictly for chicken processing, but the pigs came into the equation just recently for me. You've got 300 on site. Can you give me, you will be processing pigs in the building as well?
Yes,
Like on a separate day, for example?
we can do same day or in next week, 1 week chicken, 1 week pigs. It doesn't have to be same day.
So your projection of being in operation 1 day a week still holds
Yes.
true for both products that you?
Yes.
Okay. There was one other thing I think that escaped me at the moment, so I'm going to continue on with my adjacent colleague. Thank you.
Ms. Gardner, you want to use his mic so I can still talk?
Thank you. I have a bunch of scattered questions here. Some of these questions are based on,
Get into the mic really good.
some of these questions are based on letters of opposition that we got. So I'm hoping that you can respond to some of these points.
Sure.
Okay. First of all, what was this farm before? Was this always just an animal farm or orchard? What was the purpose of the farm before? How long have you owned the farm?
Since 2019,
Okay, so not all that long. And before that, it was a berry farm or something? Or don't you know?
before I move in, they have like 28 horse stalls, and they were doing probably corn and soybeans. That's what you want to hear from me, probably.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And since you've owned it, you've only used it as you're using it right now?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any future plans for this particular site, other than what you're asking for today?
No.
Okay, you're not planning an adventure park?
No.
Okay. Had to ask.
Please, any questions today, like Mrs. Lina said.
Okay, all right. Also, somebody mentioned that you were going to raise Wagyu cattle on the site.
Whom?
That's that Japanese cattle beef that's.
They
Wagyu.
live there now already for 4 years.
Okay, and they're on the site now?
Yes.
Okay, will you be processing those?
Just took couple for processing to another facility, so we don't have to process those there.
So you don't process the cattle there?
No.
Okay. What animals specifically are you going to process there? Just chickens and pigs or something
Yes.
else as well?
Chicken and pigs.
Okay. There was also, somebody mentioned that there is late-night pesticide use on your farm. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's a part of our business and management of the apple orchard. We done everything according state of Illinois regulations. We've been inspected often by that department, and we follow a recommendation which was established by extension counties for University of Illinois. There is IPM program we call, which is we follow.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you plant that orchard, or was that
Yes,
orchard?
I did. I grafted my hand 10,000 trees, and plus another trees was purchased. And right now, on that farm, growing like 30,000 apple trees and peaches in 1,000 peaches tree.
Okay. And do you have any customers coming to the site
In season, yes.
for the fruit,
For the fruits,
for the meat,
no.
just for the fruit?
Just the fruits and
That's a whole
and yes,
That's a whole
strawberry
different
raspberries.
enterprise.
Excuse me.
That's a whole different enterprise, business.
That's not business. That's pick your own, which is in scope of agriculture, as I understood correct.
Okay, you do charge people to do that, right?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
that's a business, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you were mentioning that there was possibly 2,000 to 4,000 chickens per week that would be,
Per year,
oh, per year.
yes.
Oh, okay, that's different. Actually, much better.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was surprised. Everybody scared.
How many per week would you guess? I can't do this math in my head quickly.
I would say 50.
50 a week?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how many pigs per week, would you say?
3.
3?
Yes.
Okay. And you won't be selling this meat on this property at
No.
all?
Not at all.
So
There
there's
is,
no-
there is no place to sell it, and we're not asking about the retail portion. We're asking just for slaughtering room.
Yeah, so other than, picking peaches or whatever, nobody will be coming to this property that isn't working there or there for some business purpose, right?
Correct.
Okay. See, we got that. There's some semi-trailers on the property, or are those gone?
They're there,
Okay,
and they all have usage for us and very useful. We store, there is boxes for apples. We store boxes for tomatoes, which is we grow on that farm as well. For example, last year, we use it for food for animals we store.
okay, so you use them for
That's like
storage?
storages, yes.
Okay, so they're not just sitting there empty or,
No,
okay.
they all have purpose.
Okay. Could you be more specific? I'm not sure if you can answer this now or not, but can you be more specific about how this building that you're planning will reduce the noise and the odors from the processing?
Absolutely. The building is designed with R21 insulation, and that's a completely sealed building. There is no odor in now modern processing room. I've been on another facilities that looks like a surgery room. It's very clean and there is no smell at all.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. There were some concerns that having these chickens on site to be killed would cause bird flu or some other disease. Can you respond to that?
Sick animals or chickens cannot be processed at all. They have to be utilized, and USDA inspector going to be present on property all the time to monitor the animals and whole process.
Okay. Are you certain that one day a week will be adequate for what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay. You don't think you need two?
No.
Okay. One's good. All right. And you also went through the description of how the animal waste would be removed from the site. It would go into a tank and removed and disposed of elsewhere. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Also, you said that the new building that you're planning will be blocked by view of the subdivision by a building that's already there.
Correct.
Okay. So if I wasn't on the zoning board, and if I lived in that neighborhood, and you never came here to get permission to do this, would I know that anything had changed on that farm?
I don't think we would notice anything.
I would not hear anything, I would not
No.
smell anything, I would not see more traffic?
No.
Okay. You're under oath? Okay,
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Understood.
all right. And then I have one last question. Who was actually responsible for that egress road?
For egress,
Yes, the road going into the farm.
responsible for maintenance, we
Yeah.
do. We put gravel there all the time and repair that road
Okay.
ourselves. Yes.
Okay. So you're responsible for keeping, I had to put my car into off-road mode to drive up there. It was pretty rough. But you're the only one that maintains that road at all?
I did not make research who's supposed to maintain, but I do maintain without knowing. I suppose should I do or not, I taken care of that if I can. Yes.
Oh, so you don't have to, but you do anyway?
I'm not sure what is my obligation but I do maintain that as much as I can.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Eldridge.
Yeah, I don't have much. I don't have much. A point of clarification. You said that the processing facility would have 4 or 5 employees. Are those employees who presently exist on the site, or are they additional employees that you would hire?
As of now, we planning to utilize same employees. They will go through the special training before able to do anything with animals, but yes,
So you do not anticipate additional employees on this site once you have the processing going?
No, no.
Okay. And now, for you, Mr. McKenna, and actually, I suspect you can't answer this to my satisfaction. I think I'm going to need it
When
from
can I?
somebody else. But I do have concern about the easement. I have no doubt that there is an easement, but what you are really asking for, I think, is a commercial easement, and I'm not sure if the existing easement qualifies. So I really want assurance, I think, probably from either the state's attorney or the Division of Transportation, that this would meet the Division of Transportation's standards for an easement to a facility like this. Can you shed any light on that, or do I need to go to the respective departments?
The deed that was recorded
I read,
in
read those.
1896.
In 1896, they were
yep.
not contemplating automobiles very much.
But also the right to use as a roadway a strip of land not to exceed 2 rods in width.
Yeah,
The 1935 deed, perpetual easement of travel of width within two rods wide across and over the above described lands as an easement or right-of-way. It that's what's been granted.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
2 rods is wide enough, because a rod is 16 feet, I think, so it's 32 feet.
33 feet is what we're
So
talking
the
about.
width is adequate, but the commercial use is what I'm concerned about.
Well, I guess if I can touch back on what Vicky asked and what was discussed previously about U-Pick activities at the property. In season, you perform, or you have U-Pick people.
That's correct.
How many cars go up and down that road during U-Pick?
Probably in weekend, 200 cars a day, back
200
and
cars
forth.
a day. And we're talking about another 9 cars a week with with potential customers.
I'm talking really solely about legalities, not about practical use.
Well,
Because
yeah.
I grant you that this facility is not going to be a traffic hazard as such.
Correct.
But once again, I'm not a lawyer, but I am concerned about the transportation law, and I'm not sure that the easement you have qualifies as commercial. And as I understand Illinois law, the U-Pick stuff is ordinary agricultural activity, and therefore the fact that it is a lot of people doesn't matter.
That's correct. Oh, and the point being, though, that this activity, I suppose, is commercial in nature, but it's also, you know, the end of the agricultural process. Animals are fed, they're born, they're fed, they're raised, they're processed, and then they're sold for food. That's what this county has based itself on for as long as I've been coming before this board.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I grant you that, but that wasn't really my question either.
I understand. But, you know, the road, you know, again, the position is that this is no greater a use of the road than any other agricultural use on the property.
I'm still going to want something from the Division of Transportation or the state's attorney telling me that this is okay.
Okay.
But I think that's all I have right now. But thank you, Terry.
Certainly.
Ms. Donner?
Okay, I'm going to kind of go along the same lines as Mr. Eldridge. I believe that the easement was set because the property is landlocked. It does say specifically for the same sites and privileges as to thrashing grain raised on the land now owned by the person there. So it's definitely to farm the land. It's not-
Actually, no, that is not correct. I'm
Oh, it's
sorry,
not
but it's
correct?
not correct.
I'm reading it off the deed.
If you take a look at the 1800 deed, it says that in addition to the road, the grantee has the right to place an engine on said land west of the farm on the premises
Yes.
when threshing.
Yes.
So what they were talking
I
about is
know.
a threshing machine that they
No.
could put on the land in addition to the right to access the property.
Well, that will go
It
back
says- and it
to
says
what
actually,
Mr.
and-
Eldridge says, is
it says,
somebody has to say that.
And
more than I-
also the right to use the roadway.
And-
So it's a threshing and the right to use the roadway.
Personally,
Speak into the microphone.
I am right here, talking right into it, talking to the gentleman.
Better. It sounds
Okay, here you go. Oh, wait, this is like, I'm going to be Taylor Swift right up to it. No, I'm not that good looking, thank you, or that young. I am more concerned with this egress, that we get something from the DOT, or, because Greenwood is a very, very busy road. And it is a road right where this access is, to me, right on a curve. We had the issue the other day coming back off of the property that I'm looking in one direction saying, stuff's coming this way, and she's looking this way saying traffic's coming this way, and it could be difficult. I'd like to see some kind of a traffic study being done before, just to make sure that we are covered on those kind of things before I make a decision on saying what's going on. Otherwise, that part concerned me considerably. Other than that, where do you get your produce, your products and meats now? Where,
We processing at Lake Geneva and at Aikmans in 2 places.
okay, and you are only going to be processing pigs and chickens at this location?
Yes.
In the discussion at the Plan Commission, you were talking, Ms. Nam from the Health Department talked about 4 or 5 employees, and once you hit 5 employees, you're going to be required to have some additional handicapped items there. Anna, do you remember what that was about? For just a second. I just want,
Somebody
in case you're,
testified here from the board.
because you have 4 now. If this is successful, you're going to end up with 5. Are you going to be, you're going to have to come back to get that second? Are you going to be able to handle that? Because everything you said here, from what I saw and read, was that you were going to have quite possibly 5 employees, that you are going to be processing.
So, Ms. Donner?
Yes?
Anna Kurtzman for the record. So the Staff Plat Review Committee, Ms. Nom is a member of that committee. She is with our Environmental Health Division. When the building permit is applied for, the Health Department will be one of the many divisions and departments that will be reviewing and will ascertain whether this needs to meet a higher standard for a septic system than what is currently proposed.
Okay, so actually what I'm saying, so you understand that that would have to be an upgrade if you have any more employees?
Understood.
Is the question. Okay. And to reiterate, the septic system that that Ms. Nam was talking about with environmental health, that is a septic system for people. And it's not, that's not what you're using it for in any other way except for humans.
Correct.
Sometimes we get that mixed up, that people look at it differently. Other thing is on owners. I saw something from the DOT that talked about no right to provide utilities. I assume that that is on the ingress and egress, that he was talking about that, Mr. Stoyan. he made it as just as a point. So if there was something else going on, you'd have to comply with anything new coming onto that. And I just also wanted to make sure that to confirm that the narrative that we have seen in our packets is the most current narrative, because that narrative has changed. Since March 19th, there have been updates to that.
So, Mr. McKenna, can you verify that the document that's in our staff report is the most recent narrative? I believe it is.
There were only 2 narratives that were presented. So let me find it here.
Okay. And my apologies, Sergi. I'm going to say that because I can't pronounce your last name, sir. I just want to make sure that everything I'm seeing is what I think I'm seeing, because to me, it was confusing to get this on Monday and to be doing this today. And so I might have more questions for you later, but certainly right now,
The narrative that is with the staff package is the correct narrative.
everybody else has covered my questions.
Mr. Cozen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll try to limit my questions to the 3 text documents that were appended. One was titled Approval Standards for Conditional Uses. One was titled Approval Standard for Variation, and one was titled Narrative. And I'd like to begin with Approval Standards for Conditional Uses. The paragraphs are numbered on that end of it. Going to paragraph 1, there's the statement that the facility will be located more than 500 feet from any residence zoning district. How close will it be to any residence?
As petitioner testified, the building is going to be more than 1,000 feet from the nearest residence.
There is a reference, let me locate that.
And that's making a distinction between the nearest residential district and the nearest residence. So there's yard between the residence and the residence property line.
It also says that in that same sentence or paragraph that the petitioner will only process animals owned and raised by the petitioner on agricultural property owned by the petitioner.
That's correct.
So how are you complying with the proverbial 24-hour rule?
The site that is in question is a 1-acre site. There's 107 acres or 106 acres that surrounds that site. There are presently animals that are raised on that additional 106 acres. That is not going to change. We're complying with the rule because nowhere are we adding additional pens or anything like that to house animals. If animals are brought from a different farm property, they're not going to be stored outside of the processing facility. They're going to be brought to the facility to be processed.
So you will have vehicles arriving that are bringing animals to be processed from off-site?
May I answer this question? We don't need even a vehicle. The animals already live on that farm. They can just literally walk to the processing place.
Right. And the walking should not be occurring longer than 24 hours.
That's correct. There is a special design room holding pen in this building. Once animal arrive to that particular room, they have to be processed within 24 hours. In our case, that's not the issue because we're going to process such a small quantity, so they're going to be processed sooner than 24 hours.
The conditional use isn't requested for the entire 107-acre farm. The conditional use is being requested for 1 acre. So there won't be any live animals stored on the processing site for more than 24 hours.
And the pens will not have any greater population than they presently have without the addition of the processing plant.
Correct.
You also, I wonder, what is your experience in managing or operating a processing plant?
Processing plant, I don't have any experience, only in growing animals so far. But there is special schools handled by UW University and State of Illinois, Iowa University, which is we can attend before we start processing and get certification from them.
Do you expect in that educational process to have such certificates within the 1 year time that you are supposed to receive?
Yes.
In paragraph 2, you have that the conditional use is compatible with existing development in the area. As I read that sentence, that's more conclusionary. Could you expand on that?
Here is our 107-acre site. Here's additional agricultural property to the west. Here's where we're looking to build. So we're surrounded completely by agricultural property.
It says, so you're limiting your view within that 800 zone or within the 104 acres?
Well, I'm limiting the view to the property that we own of 107 acres. It's got to be another, 100 and change acres on this side as well. Our nearest residential district is, again, 1,000, we're 1,000 feet from the nearest residence.
On question, or paragraph 3, you say that it is written that the processing facility is contemplated by the petitioner. Can you explain what is contemplated, as we just heard, that the petitioner has no prior experience or licensing for operating a processing plant?
The processing facility that's referenced here is the processing facility that the petitioner would intend to build on the property.
And the foundation for that intent, given that he has no license or education for it?
The foundation for the intent is to complete the loop on their farm activities to raise animals from birth to processing and becoming food for people.
You also have a statement, not you personally, but the petitioner.
I wrote it.
Authorship can be dangerous sometimes. Paragraph 3 has that that the building in all aspects will simply resemble another agricultural building. Noting on the drawing, there are 2 areas on the drawing of the building, one to the north and one to the south, labeled porch. What agricultural building uses a porch? Or can you explain what is the meaning of that definition of porch?
The plan shows simply a covered area that is included as part of the footprint of the building, but there are no activities that are being undertaken there. It might be a nice place for the employees to sit and get out of the sun. It might be a nice place for people who come to pick up their chickens or their pork chops to sit, and shoot the breeze with Sergey here.
Thank you.
In terms of, simply resembling another agricultural building, the purpose of that statement is basically to show that, look, we're not putting up a Soviet-era brick building with big smokestacks or something like this. It's going to look no different than any other agricultural building. And Sergey actually testified that, if anything, it'll look nicer.
With 2 porches.
2 porches.
Paragraph 4, you use the phrase reasons previously enumerated. Where in the documents submitted were there reasons previously enumerated that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the area?
The reasons previously enumerated in that same conditional use statement. The approval standards for conditional use, as I understand it, is not the final word on whether we're able to meet the conditions. That's the purpose of this hearing.
That's correct.
So, yes, for the other, I would have to get to number 4. Can you show number 4 up there? So the conditional use shall not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity. So again, for the reasons previously enumerated, the facility is going to be located more than 500 feet from any residential district. Live animals aren't going to be kept on site for more than 24 hours. Everything's going to be done in an enclosed building. Everything's going to be in compliance with state and federal laws. The facility will satisfy all the requirements of the health department. The property is surrounded on all sides by agricultural property. And again, for all intents and purposes, the processing facility will resemble another agricultural building. So I would say for those previously enumerated reasons, the conditional use would not be injurious to the use or enjoyment of the other property owners, because again, our position is that they're not going to feel any practical difference if this gets approved.
Then, moving to paragraph 5, you say the petitioner will take all reasonable requirements. Are there any unreasonable requirements that you are aware of?
No, as the petitioner testified, the building will have to comply with commercial code, which includes insulation requirements and things like that.
So it would be better, would you, to use the word all legal requirements?
We could probably take out any qualifier and just say that we'll take, all requirements, because that would be whatever is required by the county.
Can I answer regarding your question about license? We cannot get license from USDA and start processing without building. First, we have to get approval for building, have the building inspected by USDA inspection service, and then they can issue us license.
We've been the subject, and I apologize, Madam Chairman, for drifting a bit here. We've been the subject of this conversation on other petitioners, and the issue we most recently learned was there's a distinction between inspectors. There are inspectors between the Illinois Department of Agriculture, and there are inspectors from the United States Department of Agriculture. And the distinction that we were told is that if you are selling your product only within Illinois, then you only need an IDA certification. If you are selling your product out of the state of Illinois, then you need to be involved in the USDA. You've mentioned USDA several times. Is it your intent to sell your product outside the state of Illinois?
Not my intention, but you can always go upgrade and get service from USDA. There is no limitation to use their service if you not intend to sell your product out of state.
Thank you. In terms of the approval standards for a variance, which was the other narrative, you have a reference that the roadway will not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious. I'm jumping to paragraph 5. Is there any other access to this property?
No. No, the property and the surrounding 107 acres is completely landlocked.
So to use that expression, that's some game. How can the addition of the traffic associated with the conditional use not add to the existing traffic on the easement?
Petitioner testified that there would not be any additional traffic. There are already trucks that come and go moving animals between properties, and that instead of moving animals between properties, animals would be moved as part of the processing.
The petitioner also said that there would be people who would order meat online to be able to pick up their order at the facility. And the petitioner estimates that there'd be 8 to 9 local customers would utilize such pickup service per week. How is that not an additional traffic on the roadway?
That was offered like a courtesy for local people who would like to get our product. But if county board does not need it, they can eliminate. That's not our strict requirements. We can live without that option. But then we don't like the local people concerned that they cannot use our product, and they have to drive to Lake Zurich to buy that chicken.
That said, you're right. Any one additional car up and down that road adds to the traffic. Does it add to the traffic in a material or adverse way? I would say no. You know, even if you talk about 9 additional people per week, when there's already, you know, 4 or 5 people coming every single day, there's not going to be any appreciable difference. None of the traffic drives through a residential area. The people in the cemetery aren't complaining. So, you know, that's the position is that, you know, there isn't going to be any appreciable difference in the use of the property. Sorry about the cemetery joke.
Would that be indicative of a retail position then, for those people?
No, around Illinois, you can get now, I can give you example, 10 farms in surrounding area where people can go and pick up their order. Or you can Google, or I can present you later. That's a list. Many farms who grow the animals, they process somewhere, and people go and picking up their order without any hearing or any limitation.
I would also point out that the ordinance, within the definition of agriculture, it includes the wholesale and retail sale of products produced on site. That's how you can get to things like U-Pick. Agriculture is also defined as raising and, let me find it, animal and poultry husbandry. So presumably, and this question was raised during site plan, whether people coming to pick up orders that were placed online would amount to a retail component that would force us to change the petition to some sort of a business or commercial use. And the answer that we got from staff is that no, that would not be the case. So it's included and allowed as part of the agricultural district, or as a matter of right in the agricultural district.
Back to that approval standards for variation, paragraph 4, the term hardship is used. But we recognize that the easements go as far back as 1896 and then were reauthorized in 1935. What now has occurred to create a hardship when one has not existed since 1896?
Well, the hardship would occur if the board said, sorry, fellas, you can't do this because you don't have 330 feet of road frontage, even though this particular parcel has been accessed since at least 1935 via this easement. So if you say now, we're not going to allow this because you don't have 330 feet of frontage, we can't operate the way we need to. The hardship is there because there's not 330 feet of frontage to give, either on this parcel or on the surrounding parcel. And the size of the parcel was deliberate in that, again, petitioner has testified that this is a very limited operation. We're not looking to rezone 5 acres and put a 20,000 square foot building out there. This is a 1 acre site with a 5,000 square foot building, 4,200 feet of which is actually usable because, as you pointed out, we have porches on both sides. So, again, it's that the hardship would be if the strict letter of the law, of the ordinance were upheld, we wouldn't have any access to the property.
And by the way, the building can be modified to smaller size, I guess, and we can remove porches to satisfy requirements that would be necessary.
Actually, just to correct it, it was not I who pointed it out. It's a reference on the documents you have submitted, as well as the people who are coming here who have not come here before, as you pointed out, are likely to be retail customers, even if it was only one other person. Then going to that, then, on this easement, which has intrigued given its age, we were talking about mechanical thrashing plants from 1896. What exactly do you have before you in that easement document that substantiates utilities?
There's nothing in the document that references utilities. That would be a legal argument The fact that, and if we assume for a minute that utilities have existed within that roadway since 1935, because as indicated in the county Athena map, there was a farmstead that was on this, just north of our property here, just north of our property. The 1939 Athena map shows this road clearly coming back to this farm site. So at some point along the line, there was utilities that were brought in. The fact that those utilities have existed there, in my estimation, longer than 20 years, openly, notoriously, and continuously, if need be, the petitioner could potentially file a lawsuit to quiet title and be entitled to continue to use those easements. Obviously, it's nobody's desire to go through that exercise, but, you know, ultimately, for somebody to say, well, these easements from 100 years ago never gave you the right to put utilities there, the fact that there are utilities there probably gives us the right to continue to use those utilities, whether it was ever enumerated or not, because nobody's objected to it,
Just like the people in the cemetery.
just like the people in the cemetery.
So the point is though that the existing utilities may be adequate for the building as it is, but we have yet to hear whether or not Commonwealth Edison will accept the existing condition to support a contemporary processing plant from the year 2025. Is that correct?
I have not spoken with Commonwealth Edison, no.
No
The
further
first step
questions?
is to get through this process, then we deal with the building.
Well, if you don't have power to your building and yet you have a building permit, doesn't that seem a bit
May I
backwards?
answer that question? Yes, currently we got 600 amps on farm. That's plenty to operate such a small processing room, not a slaughtering plant like people referring. And we can run that even on generator if that's the case.
Sorry, I'm not in a position to evaluate any more than someone who is neither has an education or certificate to operate a processing plant. Thank you.
So I have some questions. So first, let's go back to, you said that you have animals on the site that's 1.5 miles away on Greenwood Road. That's correct?
That's correct.
And is that where the pigs and the chickens are both, that you raised them?
Yes.
And did you say you had 1,500 chickens there at any one time?
Right now at 3712, 1,500 chickens. Yes.
And 300 pigs?
Yes.
And so you would like to process all of those at this facility?
Not necessary. Some pigs is selling live as the feeders, and they live in farm at the age of 8 weeks old. So not necessary. All of them has to be processed there.
So if they're
And
feeder
chicken-
pigs, you might be selling them as feeder pigs to someone else?
Yes.
So you're basically, you're, it's like a farrowing operation you have there? You have baby pigs and then you're
I
selling
do
them
have baby
as
pigs. Yes.
feeders? So you're not necessarily, because when you said 3 pigs a week, that doesn't compute for me because that's only 150 pigs a year.
That's correct, ma'am. We sell in small piglets as well.
Okay, so
And
these
plus-
300 pigs are not all going to be processed?
No.
But how about the chickens?
Chicken is layers chickens right now there. They lay in eggs.
Okay, okay, so
Yes.
not all the chickens are for being processed for meat
That's
either.
correct. Yes.
So, so you said that you would like, though, up to 4,000 chickens per year to be processed?
In some point, yes.
And yet you said there would only be 50 chickens per week, and that, if you did that every week, that'd be 2,600. So you're going to have to be doing more chickens than that a week if you want to do 4,000 chickens
We'll
a
leave
year.
those on next year, or that's chicken layers which can lay the eggs.
So, the reason I'm asking that is because, you know, I wonder, I'm looking at this site plan you have for this building, and it says, it doesn't say anything about pigs, it just says proposed chicken processing facility. And I'm looking at the size of the holding pen and the kill floor area, and Did you work with an architect to figure out like what size you need based on USDA?
That's
like-
correct. There is guide issued by USDA where we can basically copy and paste size of the rooms necessary for processing.
So your building will be designed so that you can process the amount of animals that you're figuring out and allow them the proper room and,
Yes.
and then, but as far as chilling your meat after it's processed, you're planning on, I saw something in, I think it was in site plan review where you were talking about you use these trailers for chilling, but that the trailers are a backup plan if this original request is denied. I want to understand what that's all about.
No, the chilling going to occur, as you can see on our drawing, there is special coolers
In the building,
in the building, inside the building.
okay. I can't see that from what I
We can
have.
show quick.
Is it on the drawing that I have here? It may not be. Terry? Because I don't see anything there. Oh, we don't have that? No, we haven't been provided that.
This to you. This is just something that, I believe it was submitted during site plan review, right?
Yes.
No, it was
We
not.
need that.
We do. Yeah, we need that. I would like copies for every board member, please.
Yes.
Okay. But it does show the holding pen here, the kill floor area, the pre-chill.
Well,
holding cooler.
I want to see it on my desk in front of me before I can ask questions. So before the next hearing, because I don't know if we'll even have time to be able to ask questions about it. I just can't believe we didn't have that ahead of time. So,
Just to quickly answer your question, there are areas for coolers, freezers, again, the inspector's office, restrooms, locker room, so.
okay, so again, please provide those to us. Also in the narrative, it says that you want to be open up to 3 days a week. Now, is it 1 day a week or 3 days a week?
1 week,
One
1 day a week.
1 day a week?
Yes.
So you've changed your narrative from 3 down to 1?
I don't know what is your question. We clearly state we can capable operate only once a week. We don't need 3 days.
At site plan review, there was a discussion about 3 days a week, and I believe that what Sergey is doing is trying to back off of that in an effort to placate the board and the residents, so.
So are you looking like a certain day of the week, like, because for, the board, the enforcement officer needs to be able to enforce a certain thing. So if you just say 1 day a week, this week I'm going to be open Monday, next week I'm going to be open doing Tuesday, that's kind of hard for them to know, are they what day are they doing it? So are you saying like every Friday I'm going to do processing?
They can assign the day.
You
for
can
me,
do it
and I
on
will
a-
follow that.
And you will follow that?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens if you have online meat orders and your meat is really popular and lots of people want to order it and lots of people want to come and pick it up? A conditional use permit is for 10 years. You could have a lot of growth in 10 years. You need to ask for, as much as you're going to want for 10 years, or because you're limited then, on certain things. So,
Understood.
I mean, is that what 8 to 9 people a week?
If there would be overflow, they always can go and pick up any time in Lake Zurich store or Skokie, Illinois. It depends where they live and where it would be convenient for them.
And then I just have to ask, if your chickens and your pigs are down at the other farm and that has road frontage, why not put it there?
Because there is very
You would need a
limited.
variation.
There is gas and oil pipe going through that farm and limited. And I plant too much orchard there. There is like 50-acre orchard. So there is no room for building.
You have other agricultural activities on there that you wouldn't want to remove the trees to put up a building?
I cannot remove trees. Every tree costs a lot of money to grow. It's 8 years old apple trees.
Okay. How about the facility in Harvard?
Harvard.
Does that, is that
Say-
have
say
road
it
frontage?
doesn't have frontage road as well.
That doesn't have road frontage?
No.
Has an easement to go back to it as well?
I guess so. We have to check with planning and development if it does have easement definitely because I'm getting to the farm, but it
Yeah, I
doesn't
was gonna
have-
say, you gotta
Yes,
get there somehow.
Yes, yes, for sure. Yes.
Okay. So you have to bring in the animals from the other farm when you're gonna process them, and then you'll be leaving when you have to take the meat to your other stores. So what do you use for that? Do you have a special truck? Do you have a special, chilled truck that then you
Yes,
take
we
and
do.
deliver to all the different?
Yes, because we deliver and picking up meats from another plants now, and we have to temperature control that.
And so you say you have retail stores in Wheeling, Lake Zurich, and Skokie. Those are stores that you own, that you just have your meat there?
Yes,
Okay. And so that's where you'll be taking the meat to all those different places?
yes,
Okay, but you want to be able to have people come here as well? But it's,
like I mentioned before, that's up to county, whatever permission you give.
and so you're happy
if
if
you're not
the
necessary-
county board said no retail sales, no
That's-
customers coming on here, you'd be fine with that?
Yes,
And then you would instead just bring your animals on and take your meat off, and there would be no
Correct.
public coming on?
yes,
Okay. And you need a license to operate, I'm sure, as
Correct,
this,
yes.
and so you're going to have to go through all that process. Okay.
understood.
I think the 20, I just wanted to address the land use plan. I think for this property shows it as a state. And I just want to ask how this is compatible with the state zoning.
I'm guessing that the land use plan shows it as a state because it is adjacent to Greenwood, the municipality. There is long, as I understand, long held that, an agricultural use is appropriate use in just about any place where there is a potential future plan with the 2030 plan. It's also been, it's been in this, it's been a farm, again, just going back to the 1939 Athena, so it's been a farm forever.
Well, I understand the farm, but I mean, the animal processing facility is different than the farm. So, it's a different use, so I wondered if you could address that compatibility. That's what my question was directed at. I don't think I have any other questions at this time, but I know Vicki has another one, Charlie does, and Mary does. So we'll answer those, and then we're going to take a break before staff asks questions. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Gartner.
Thank you. This was touched on a little bit through Linnea's questions, but I just wanted to, can you hear me? Okay. Way in the back, can you hear me? Okay. I just wanted to clarify something. I specifically had asked Sergey if people would be coming to the site to either bring animals or to pick up processed meat, and he said no. And at some point, we were talking about you were talking about the building, the new building that will be built with 2 porches, and how that's really a nice thing because people coming to pick up their chickens might like to sit there and what? Or pork chops, might like to sit there and chit-chat. And that was like a contradiction to what I thought I had heard. So I thought I heard an audible gasp from the audience as well, so.
What has been contemplated, and I believe in the narrative as well, that people would be able to order fresh meat online or by phone, and the meat would be processed in the facility, and then they would be able to come to the facility and pick it up. It's not like a butcher shop where there's going to be a row of, coolers and people can come and go and it's open like Jewel It would only be for orders that, you know, people specifically placed. And that, you know, although Sergey said that, you know, he might be willing to do without that, I think that that would be a shame for the local people.
I agree.
Because it's an opportunity
But
to
I
buy
also
farm fresh
see-
produce.
I also see that as increasing traffic in an unpredictable way, because that could become real popular.
Yes, I agree. However, it's not likely that it would be as popular as, you know, in terms of traffic as a U-Pick,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
weekend in any farm in the county.
That's true. But we're talking about this place, so.
Understand?
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Eldridge.
Thank you, Terry. To no surprise of yours, I'm sure, we're going to revisit the easement.
Okay.
Would you please clarify for me the difference between the 1896 easement and the 1935 easement? Is the one just a restatement of the other, or do they cover different parcels?
I think that it may be that the easement went so far, and then when the next property was sold, the easement went further.
Okay, but
that's-
you aren't quite sure which is which, I gather?
1896 and 1935. Yes, that's otherwise, why do it in two deeds when it could have just been done in the 1896 deed? So that's why it makes sense to me that the owner of that property owned to a certain point and then sold off the rest, or, you know,
But you
owned the
haven't
whole
really
thing.
tracked it down.
What's that?
You haven't really tracked it down.
I haven't really tracked it down.
Okay, that's
but
fine.
These easements are there, and they provide access to the property. Like I said, from what I can tell, without going through, you know, a 150-year tract search, I would guess that the common owner sold off the part by the cemetery, reserved the easement for him, then sold off the part between the cemetery and what Sergey owns now, and reserved the remainder of that strip. That's what makes the most sense,
Yes, I agree, it makes the most sense. Thank you.
certainly.
Ms. Donner.
I just wanted to clarify something that was said at the very beginning. The existing metal building is 96 but by 104. You have that on there? Yes? Okay. This piece that you're using, this building is going to be 50 by 100, and I thought that you had said it's only by half. So I think my head mistook that this building, the new building, is going to be bigger, but not necessarily by that much. Well, how can you have a building that's already 96 by 104 and you're going to have a new building that's 50 by 100 and not that it's going to be smaller? Is it because of the 50 feet?
The 50, or the existing building is about 10,000 square feet, if you multiply the 96 by the 100 and whatever, and
Okay.
the new building is going to be 5,000 square feet, 50 by 100.
Okay,
So it's roughly half.
then it's my math, not yours. Sorry about that part. I also just wanted to reiterate that as long as you have people coming in to be apple picking and doing other pickings, that those 8 or 9 people probably aren't going to be noticed among those. Am I correct?
Probably correct.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll start with questions from staff.
I'm going 50 by 100. Come on, man. Okay. I know, mine too.
If we could come to order. Excuse me, everybody. We'd like to restart our meeting. Please take a seat and take your conversations out in the hallway if you'd like to continue to speak. Otherwise, we'd like to continue our hearing. So I'll bring us back to order, and I will just announce before we take questions from staff that it's pretty clear we won't be able to finish today. So this hearing will be continued to next Wednesday at 1:30 in this same room. So I will, how we're going to proceed is that the staff is going to be able to allow their questions, ask her questions, and then Mr. Burney, as the attorney representing some of you in the room, will have his 6 minutes to ask questions. And again, as I say, that's the time to ask questions. And then the petitioner might take another whatever, how many minutes to answer those questions, but that's your time to ask the questions. Then I'm going to ask if anyone cannot come next Wednesday to ask questions, that they be the first people allowed to come up and ask questions. And also, if we don't get to all of them, Ms. Kurtzman has said that if you have a question that you're not allowed to, you don't have the ability to ask today, you can email her those by the end of Tuesday, and she would ask those questions for you on Wednesday. So again, we'll just start off with staff questions of the petitioner. Ms. Kurtzman.
Musical microphones are always so fun. For the record, my name is Anna Kurtzman. I'm a senior planner here. So going back to the easement, I'm a little confused and hoping for a little clarification. The graphic that's up on the screen at the moment is also in my staff report, and it's based on the site plan presented by the applicant. Shown in yellow is the legally described easement. The lines in blue are the property lines. The subject property is southeast of the corner of the blue lines there. I'm not seeing where the easement is actually getting to the subject property. Could you explain how that happens?
If you take a look at the yellow as the termination of the easement area, to the east of that or to the right of the yellow is property that is owned by the petitioner. So the petitioner will traverse his own property to access this site. So the petitioner can drive down that road from Greenwood, and once he, comes out the other side onto his own property, then he can go wherever he wants. As indicated there, looks like there's a service drive that will service the building with parking to the east. The parking spots that the county is going to require to the east of the building.
Okay, then follow up with that. I thought that would be the answer that you would provide. So as we know, conditional use permits go with the land. And if the land is sold, how is that access easement continued?
We would do exactly the same thing that was done in 1896 and in 1935. We would reserve an easement over the property that we sell to allow us to access the property or to access that site.
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Mr. Burney if,
Could I have a minute to just hook
oh,
up?
absolutely.
Thank you.
You tell me when you're ready.
I will. Okay, come on. Am I needing that? Oh, that's just a power cord, huh?
That's just the power cord.
So it's not gonna work, huh?
So a possible option would be if we put your flash drive in my computer and just let you use my computer.
Okay, thank you.
Come on back. Not technology was wonderful.
That's why you can't beat paper.
I'll just have to wing it without.
No, it's fine. You can wait. We can wait. Yeah.
That's weird that that did not work. Anna, are you frozen?
No, I'm not frozen.
It's just not projecting?
Here's our IT specialist right here.
Unplug it.
She's a computer guru.
Okay, I'm stumped.
Okay,
Okay, I apologize.
no,
Okay.
no, thank you for trying. Sir, these questions are to you, Mr. Sergi.
You need to speak into the microphone.
Okay, sure. These questions are to you, Mr. Sergi. I want to follow along with what Mr. Cozen started us.
Still not projecting on the microphone.
Okay.
Gotta get it close.
Is it on?
It is on.
How's the projection now? I think I
Oh,
hear
yeah.
myself projecting.
Much better.
All right, thank you, Charles. I want to follow up with what Mr. Cozen started, the approval standards for a variation. Can you tell me how it is that you have not created the hardship that you're complaining about? Did you not buy this land knowing that it was limited to an easement? The access was limited to an easement?
My attorney checked at the time of the transaction. I talked to the county, and I do not see and was not aware any limitation on that easement.
Did you, and my question is different, did you not recognize that your property did not have any frontage on another road, on a publicly dedicated road like the
For
county
me-
ordinance requires?
For me, was plenty 33 feet of road to enter and exit property.
But that you understand now, don't you, that that does not constitute frontage, as that term is used in the county's.
In
own
order
ordinance.
to grow animals, you don't need frontage road.
But
The animals lives okay on field in forest.
But to do a slaughtering plant. you
Slaughtering,
do
nothing
need-
do.
Do need frontage.
On my
Need to
opinion,
let him ask the question, sir. Then you can
Okay.
answer.
go ahead.
You do need frontage to do a slaughtering plant on your property, don't you?
Absolutely. If slaughtering plant, maybe I need the frontage. In my case, small processing room, which is 800 square feet, I don't need frontage. I'm not gonna serve this room for the business purposes. It's just solely for our own animals,
But you-
for their welfare.
You knew when you bought the ground that you did not have frontage on a right-of-way, correct?
What your question? If I knew if I have frontage? Yes, that's an obvious fact. There is no frontage.
Good, thank you. This easement, how long is it? How long does it extend from Greenwood Road to the perimeter of your property?
I would say roughly 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet. So
Yes.
it's 1,000 foot of easement. And you've indicated in your narrative that you're not going to put a sign up on Greenwood. Is that correct?
That's
Is
correct.
that something you're sticking with in terms of your narrative?
That's correct.
And you can't put a sign up.
Tom, turn it.
Really? Darn it. You can't put a sign up under the terms of the easement, can you?
I have no idea, and it's not my issue with the sign. I'm not here petitioning for the sign, and we can live without sign.
What
So-
about the access? What about the access?
Access
that-
is-
No. The access that we need so when the trucks come in to carry out the offal, when the trucks come in to bring the pigs and chickens from your other farm, when the people come in, the 8 to 10 that you estimate to buy locally, when the 4 employees or more come in to work the place, wouldn't you agree that it's very difficult to see where this access point is?
I disagree. There is very nice sign which is state clearly 3712. That's our address.
Have you not seen during your fruit pickup business that there has been congestion and difficulty of people accessing this easement?
No, it was not observed by me
And how often are you at this property?
every day.
Every day, and you haven't observed that, is that right? Okay. You would agree, wouldn't you, that there is going to be additional traffic because of the customers, because of the employees, because of the animals coming from the other facility, farm, because you are now going to transport the processed meat to your other stores, because of waste disposal, and because of inspections, to name a few. Those are all going to add more traffic to this property. Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct. Because animals, once they grow on property, they have to go either one way, either processed or unprocessed. They have to leave the property on truck. And we're using small pickup truck 2500 with small 16-feet trailer. So not expect to create any additional traffic with that.
Those are trucks. There's traffic.
Yes, the 2500 Chevrolet, everybody know what it is. That's not semi-truck.
So so that's your opinion. Let me just ask you, you've offered opinions in terms of the conditional use standards on that there's no threat to the public water supply, that wastewater is going to be treated well, that there isn't going to be any adverse impact on these good people's property values and the use and enjoyment of their property. Are you skilled or educated or been hired as a real estate appraiser?
I answering to you as the farmer.
As a farmer. So
As the farmer. So you
all-
ask me, don't ask me about property values. I cannot assign and tell you that.
Okay.
I can tell you the pig's been live there for 4 years. Nobody noticed that.
Okay, so we'll
And
hear,
there was no complaints to me whatsoever until today.
we're going to hear about that. We're going to hear
Okay.
about that. So please, people, let's show respect to Sergey. Do you, so you don't, why did you not bring experts in the field of wastewater and in the field of real estate
I will-
appraisal? Because this is a very significant matter, sir. Why did you not bring experts to testify to this board instead of offering, as you put it, the opinions of a farmer? And I love farmers, but on these particular subjects, I question the competence of your testimony on these factors.
Okay, that's your last question, Mr. Bernal.
Let me answer that. I've been working with health department to design the system for wastewater for over 2 years. I believe and trust to them, and I know they are expert. And I've been directed to put in my design, and there's going to be requirements to put 3,000-gallon wastewater tank, which is going to accumulate all waste from this slaughtering room. Is not, what else? There is no water treatment system, and water not gonna run off the building nowhere beside the 3,000 gallons tank. Do you understand me, Mr. Burley? Is it good answer, or you can ask additional question?
No, I can't, because the chairman has said my 6 minutes is up. Ms. Kustra, I don't remember this rule. Has this been embodied in the rules of the zoning board?
This is something that the board chair has the ability to decide as the 3-minute rule for the public.
Okay, so we-
So we're allowing you more. But when we get all done through all the questions, if there are other questions that have not been asked that you would like to address, I would feel comfortable giving you more time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so at this time, if there's any member of the public who cannot be here on Wednesday and you would like to ask your questions, you'll have to identify yourself and your address, and then you'll be given your 3 minutes. So I would ask you to try and, so we can move through more quickly, if you would line up along this road, this wall to my right. Just be careful of the exhibits as you come up. And then you'll use the microphone that looks similar to mine, not the other fancy-looking one there, and speak into that. Let's make sure it's turned on. It is. It is on? Okay. Okay, sir, come on up. Yep, that's the one.
Hey, my name is Steve Weir. I live at 3475 Twin Oaks Drive, Wonder Lake, Illinois. My question is, or concern, something that I haven't heard from anyone else here so far, is I understand the business and the business needs, but what does the county or the village of Wonder Lake or the village of Greenwood benefit from someone who brings in product from another location from which I understand he was denied, have it slaughtered here in some form or fashion, whatever that chooses to be is, and then hauls it away? To say that there's 8 people that are maybe going to benefit from it by being able to buy pork locally, I don't quite understand the philosophy there. And Sergio, I appreciate, your concerns, but I think as a village and as a community, there has to be give and take on both sides. And-
Well, you have to let him answer the question then. You asked a question about that,
Okay,
so
yeah.
go ahead. Yep.
So what is the question? How community gonna benefit, right? Can you specify your questions?
The
Sorry.
question is, what is benefit is the
For community.
county or community going to
Yes.
gather from this?
By farming on 107 acres, that's not 1 acre, that's a large farm. And we would like to be beneficial for larger community, not just for our 20 neighbors. We would like to serve completely McHenry County, Lake County, Chicago, wherever customer, whoever like our farm product, we would like to serve.
You have more time if you have another
Yeah,
question.
again, I just want to reiterate that this product is not.
You can make a statement later, but now it's a question.
Okay.
This product, to finish your question, grown on your backyard on this farm already for 4 years.
I understand
And
that, but
it would
if you have a property down the street, which I'm aware of, which one of the board members already asked you that question, if the product, if we're trying to protect the animals and, not stress them and things of that nature, why are we moving them 2 miles up the road from a place that has a much better line of sight? I mean, the road coming around that curve, I do it every day. It's 2 to 3 seconds from the time I come out of that curve till I'm at a 55 mile an hour speed zone. And if there hasn't been a traffic study involved in this, there definitely needs to be. And with that, that's my 2 cents.
So what is the question again? Why we choosing this farm? Because, no, that's okay.
Again, this is a time for questions and not statements.
Got it.
You'll have a time later.
My name is Susan Smith. I live at 3860 Crabapple Lane in Wonder Lake. I'm in the Deer Path subdivision. I will, I think, from my front door, be able to see the roof of the building, as Sergey has said. My questions are really clarification. The board asked a lot of my questions already. On your property currently, you have the chickens, the pigs, the cattle, and the horses. You've stated that your cattle will be, if slaughtered, will be slaughtered elsewhere, correct? Not.
Correct, yes.
And will you be slaughtering any horses on the property?
No.
Okay.
That's,
Just to clarify. I'm glad to hear that, but, so your floor plan, which we weren't able to see, the one that you all just got copies of the interior of the building, it is a smaller building than I thought, and I'm trying to identify how and where everything is going to be within that building. So for example, you said you're going to have a holding tank for the waste products, the entrails, the carcasses, whatever it is. Is that holding tank inside the building?
on the side of the building.
On the side of the building, so it'll be outside the building, above ground?
No, that's inside ground, and pipe would be directed, 6-inch pipe directed from floor of the building directly to the tank. Tank
Okay,
gonna
is
be
that-
completely sealed and alarmed.
Is that for liquid waste?
Yes.
So what about all the carcasses and entrails
There
and
is-
those types of things?
There is if you will see the design, there is small room, it's called for ovals, where they have to kept under temperature control until rendering truck come over and picks it up.
Okay, and how often do you see the pickup of disposal?
If we will process once a week, I believe the truck has to come once a week and picks it up.
Okay. And then in our area, which Deer Path residents know, we have a lot of power outages, and they're short. Do you have a plan for backup power for all this refrigeration and cooling devices?
Absolutely, that generator can be installed as a power backup.
Okay. You also stated in one of your narratives that the underground holding tank for the liquid waste from slaughter would have an alarm system on it.
Correct.
If on a given day of slaughter, that alarm goes off, the tank is full, slaughtering will end
Yes.
immediately?
I do not know answer on this question.
So,
That probably would be alarm should be set in certain place where it's gonna be certain limitations to continue. Like before it get full, 3/4 alarm might be work. I don't know all technical things
okay.
to finish to be enough for
Just
one
as a
day
nearby
process.
resident,
Yes.
I worry about runoff and mishaps, accidents that could happen.
Your
if the
time is
alarm
up.
went
If you
off.
have more
Oh,
questions,
sorry.
you could pass them off to
Yep.
someone else. So your questions are up. Okay. Next person.
Yes, but he's not gonna watch that.
Hi, I'm Roy Stolzman. I live at 9380 Rachel Drive in Deer Path. So my question is, you confirmed you have no license, correct, to run a slaughterhouse?
I cannot get license until building would be up.
Have you worked in a slaughterhouse before?
No, have not.
So how can you, with confidence, answer all these questions stating that you know what's going on in the slaughterhouse?
Learned with that for last 2 years with USDA. There is manuals and all different things.
But you don't have firsthand experience.
I don't have hand experience.
Okay. So next question is, you're saying that the animals you have on the property right now, and they're all 107 acres, there's not going to be any more than you have now
No,
at all?
at all.
Okay. The next thing is that if you're looking at 4,300 animals a year with 4 people working the slaughterhouse, and you're only going to slaughter 1 day a week, how long does it take to process one animal, like a chicken? How many hours does it take to process a chicken?
One chicken?
Yeah.
I assume 5 minutes.
So, and a pig?
Probably depends what the equipment gonna be used.
So just a quick math, you'd have to process 82 animals that one day if you're gonna slaughter 4,300 animals a year.
Let me, you're talking about the chickens or pigs? That makes
Either or,
difference.
either or combined. So 4,300 animals, 4,000 chickens, 300 pigs. You're looking at 4,300, so 52 days of the year, you're going to be processing those animals. So that equals 82 animals that one day. That's going to, 4 people are going to be able to handle that?
Chickens and pigs gonna be processed in different days. We clarify with before I were asked. To process 50, 60 chickens for 4 people will take 2-3 hours, and process 3 pigs in different day of the next week. It takes couple hours.
Okay, but again, you're answering these questions without any experience in a slaughterhouse.
I tour when I go on to another farms, to Meat Processor Association. We go through, every year I go to 3-4 different slaughterhouses where I talking to professionals people and learn from them how they doing and what they doing. There's nothing new for me.
Well, I mean, it is new. This is all new for you. So those are all my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is James Ferretti. I live in 9340 Rachel Drive. I am a certified safety professional. Some of my questions are more safety related. What chemicals will be on site and what the quantities?
All chemicals gonna be regulated by my inspector, USDA inspector. They all has to be food grade, and they're gonna assign what I can use and what I cannot use. As of now, I cannot answer your technical things.
So I live next to here, so I need to know what chemicals are on site. So can you please provide SDSs before this goes on? If you don't know an SDS, it's the safety data sheet.
Absolutely, I know what it is, and that's going to be provided at the time I will get license.
So we don't know the chemicals on site, we don't know what type of
I don't
chemicals will
have
be on
any
site.
chemicals on site, and I cannot provide you SDSs, because by the time I get permit, if I will get, it might be take 1 year or 2 from now, and all SDS is going to be changed by that time. So I will provide you, at the time of opening, you can come and I will provide you SDSs.
So just so we're clear, you do not know what chemicals will be on site?
As of now, I don't know what I don't have any chemicals as of now.
Yep, that's perfect. All right, other question, looking at your drawing here, I see no ventilation, and I'm assuming this is an air conditioning, heating facility, is that correct?
That's correct. Everything gonna be presented for the building department to clarify. This is just visual side of the building for you to visually imagine what it gonna looks like.
So there will be exhaust of the facility out to the atmosphere?
Exhaust from what? From air
your
conditioning?
facility. Yeah, from the smelling facility that will exhaust the atmosphere.
Smelling of what?
Of the decayed animals, the process.
There is no decay animals nowadays in processing plants.
I've been in processing plants, they stink.
That's, you've been, cannot comment where you've been.
Yeah.
The places where I was, there was very clean and like a surgical room.
Which is fine, yeah. The other question, you said you'll have a generator on site, and you said there'll be no noise additional to this. If a generator does go on site and turns on, there will be new additional noise.
Generator gonna be in compliance with regulations.
But
Building
that's fine,
department.
but still be noise
Yes,
though. It's
I'm
additional
not
noise.
making generators. I cannot confirm what level of noise that will provide.
But you do-
I assume 1,000 feet would be enough to, you will not able to hear any generator.
Well, we'll get to the 1,000 feet because that's not true. So with a generator, I'm assuming it's a diesel generator?
I cannot answer this question yet because I don't know what type of generator would be required. That's according to my engineers.
Okay. So, but if it is a diesel generator, there would be a fuel tank on site?
That's your assumption. As of now, I told you clearly there is many types of generator. Maybe I put the solar panels.
Yeah, at night, that works.
Yes, so we will get to technical things when we build the building.
So we got to wait until it's already been approved and built to see what hazards will be on site.
Okay, I think,
Thank you.
all right, time's up.
You're amazing. Thank you. Sarah Lupino, 8709 Sedge Meadow, Wonder Lake. I had a whole different set of questions, but I'm really confused on site, like what the definition of the site is. So I just really want clarification. It sounds like you have 107 acres on this property. And it seems to be like an interchangeable word of on-site, that we're talking on-site is the 1 acre of the 107 acres? Is that correct? And you're saying there's no animals on site, do you mean there's no animals on that 1 acre of the 107 acres?
If that answers the question, yes. There is no animals on 1 acre yet.
But there are animals on the
on property,
106,
on farm.
on the
Yes.
106
Correct.
surrounding
Yes.
acres. And those are the animals, only animals that will be slaughtered?
Beside of those, which is we got another farm, like I said before, on
Okay.
2318 Greenwood Road.
Okay, and that's some of the conflicting, is that sometimes you've said that only the animals on site,
Only
but there's no
animals
animals
which
on
is,
site?
which is grown on our farms.
Okay, so, and that's the farm, the other farms in Woodstock down the road, Harvard, and
Mundelein,
and
Illinois.
Mundelein, all of those animals would also be trucked in, and some
There is-
animals will be walking
There is
from,
no animals lives on Mundelein or Harvard farm.
so just the two
so
Woodstock.
all animals live on Greenwood Road.
Okay, on the two farms on
Yes,
Greenwood?
correct.
Okay, some are walking and some are being trucked in.
Yeah, they all can be trucked in.
Okay. Just trying to clarify, to this 1 acre, that's not connected to any easement and not connected. Is there a PIN number for that 1 acre? Is that separate from, like, how are the 107 acres?
I believe the
Does
PIN
that
was
acre
issued.
have a
No?
separate PIN number?
That's,
Part of the larger 57-acre parcel.
Okay, and then can you, where does that border, like, so, I guess I'm just curious on why we're talking about 1 acre as the property when it's, you said 57 acres.
Petition is to put the facility on 1 acre parcel. I'm sorry. The petition requests the ability to put the facility on 1 acre of the 57 acre parcel. So the site that we're referring to is the 1 acre site. Again, scaled back because it's a smaller production. It's not a big commercial production.
Okay. Is there any way we can like get a, where is the 56? What is the parcel that this dot is part of and what it abuts to? Okay.
This is a separate parcel. This is a separate parcel. And that's where we're talking.
Okay. So earlier I heard that, oh, so I can pass it on.
Okay. We're going to say this gentleman is the last one for today because starting at like 10 after, we need to kind of wrap things up.
All right, which one?
That
This
one?
one?
Yes, please.
William Wood, 4006 Crabapple Lane, Wonder Lake, Illinois. While I was here, I didn't know I was going to have any questions. Oh, I didn't get sworn in before.
Do you affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
All right, so listening to some of the stuff earlier, have you ever applied in any of your other farms for this type of business?
No, I did not.
So this is the first time you've ever
Yes.
going for that? Okay. Why haven't you in those areas instead of this area?
That's one of the largest farm, and animals live. All animals live on this farm, beside of just couple and not large quantity on 2018.
Earlier you were asked how this was good for, how this was good for the community. If it's good for the community, because you said, if I remember right, that it would help the community grow and be better, correct?
If I say yes.
If it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You asking if that help community to grow?
Yes.
I know that's gonna help grow to healthy kids, that's for sure. Community, I don't know.
If, and thank you for that, because I agree, eating good is good, but if we're going to have people love your business, it's going to increase traffic, and earlier you're saying it's not going to increase traffic. Don't you see if it's growing, your business is going to grow, and everybody wants it, that's going to really make that intersection very busy, don't you think?
We got solution for that. People can just drive to Lake Zurich to our stores and pick up items there. So.
But if I live on Crabapple Lane, which is right at your facility, I'm not going to drive an hour and a half round trip when I could go right to your place, because you said I can just go there and pick up my stuff. That's what you said you want to do, so I can just order it and go right to your store. But that's going to increase the traffic,
That's
is it
okay,
not?
but looks like you guys opposing to have that option.
I'm just asking.
I cannot, make decisions. That's a county make decision if they will allow people to come or not. That's in my petition,
no other
but if they refuse, that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have conferred and decided that this meeting will be continued next Wednesday, that is May 28th at 1:30 p.m. in this same room. So at this time, then, this meeting is continued to that time.
I may not be here Wednesday. Is it okay if I have 3 minutes to ask some questions? The people who can't be here to ask questions.
You can ask questions and send
You can send them to Anna by Tuesday at 5 p.m. next Tuesday, and she could ask those questions for you next week. Because it's just imperative for us to be totally out of this building by 4:30. So at this time, this hearing is continued.